Act 5, Scene 1, The Tempest, in which Gonzalo summarized the elements of the play's unlikely happy ending. Oh, rejoice beyond a common joy. Set it down with gold on lasting pillars. In one voyage did Claribel her husband find at Tunis, and Ferdinand her brother found a wife, where he himself was lost. Prospero his dukedom in a poor isle, and all of us ourselves, where no man was his own. Shakespeare's play, The Tempest, provides a model to help us understand why we give to the university. We are all voyagers who've ended up, by chance and perhaps miraculously, on the same island, IU South Bend. We find ourselves here together, and this is also the place where we find ourselves in another sense. Here we grow in our professions, find our voices, and make our home. Like the characters in The Tempest, who begin in confusion, each concerned with his or her own plans, we came here separately, but now we are like one family, with common interests. To give to IU South Bend is to give to ourselves, to care for one another, and to develop the institution that we love. And I have found that you do this joyfully. Nevertheless, like the magician Prospero, I have woven a web of magic here this afternoon. I invite you to an enchantment that I hope will add to your joy of giving and put a happy Friday afternoon smiles on all your faces. And I want to thank Joe Chaney for those words.
Well, you're supposed to claim them as your own.
All right, they're my own. And I want to wish you a happy Valentine's Day and a happy full moon. Drive carefully. I want to thank the following for their department or area donation for making the tasty treats available: the library, IT, business, the American Democracy Project, Center for a Sustainable Future, Student Services, CLAS, Education, and the School of the Arts for the piano. I also want to thank the performers who have volunteered and spent time practicing, I hope, for their presentations today. The willingness for people to step up always amazes me and brings joy to my heart. Let's give them a round of applause now. Also, the food will be available the whole time we're here, so eat up. We've got lots of it. I'd like to introduce John Mcintosh, who's the Interim Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, to give us a welcome.
Thanks, Dina. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. You've already been enjoying yourself. We've been trying to spread a little bit of Valentine cheer around, non-alcoholic, of course. But I'm very happy to be here to represent Chancellor Allison. He's been attending the IU Board of Trustees meeting the last couple days in Indianapolis. Hopefully, if things went well, he is on his way right now on US 31 coming back home, and will be here before the evening is over. Certainly, as most of you are aware, he has a PhD in literature, certainly in English. He'd probably do a much more elegant job and would probably have much more to say about Shakespeare than the mere PhD in psychology that stands before you. I am a developmental psychologist, and despite some of my other specialty areas, developmental is always my home, and simply means that I studied various life periods. In particular, my specialty is really late life periods. I've often, in fact almost always, quoted Shakespeare in one way or another in my developmental classes, especially lifespan development, partially because he wrote in As You Like It, a monologue that very much talked about and celebrated, or at least described, I'm not sure celebrated is the right word, that talked about the 7 ages of man, as this monologue has been called. All the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy, then the lover, then the justice, then the lean and slippered pantaloon. The last scene of all that ends this strange eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Pretty cynical and pretty negative viewpoint of late life. As a gerontologist, not my favorite portrayal, but it is very much akin to the kinds of stage theories that developmental psychology has often had in talking about what goes on in various life periods. They can be useful, but not necessarily all that revealing. But that is one ode to Shakespeare, as you will, as I have taught, it's been a while now for me, but as I taught my own classes in developmental psychology in particular. I appreciate the willingness of everybody to get up in front of their colleagues and do something Shakespeare today. I'm looking forward to hearing the performances. There's probably a psychological reason for why people feel they need to or want to do that. We won't get into that right now. We'll leave that to some other context. These performances are for a good cause, the annual campus campaign. I think all of us that have been here over this time period have been amazed at the continuing success of the campaign. We want to thank the Director of Development, Dina Harris, for her leadership and energy for this project. We also want to thank Dave Vollrath for being involved with this campus campaign from the beginning and for coining the great phrase, any amount to any account, which has always been one of my favorites. Their work has been outstanding. We really appreciate it. I'd like to recognize them at this point. As I'm sure Dina has said in many contexts, 9 years ago the first campaign raised $15,000. Last year the campaign pledged more than $130,000. Today we kick off the 2014 campaign. We have high hopes for another record-setting year and to again exceed the goals that we had established as a campaign. The campus campaign is unique because it raises money for the campus, from the campus. I've heard Dina say that she is very proud to be telling donors that the people of our campus feel so strongly and have such a strong connection to this campus and its mission that they give their own money as individuals to support it, and in addition to all the efforts they put forth in other ways. That's a very powerful message. It's a very important message that Dina brings to people as she tries to gain funds and raise funds for us in other contexts as well. So on behalf of Chancellor Allison and myself, I encourage you to give. Support the program on our campus that is near and dear to your heart. Support this wonderful university. It's been good to most all of us, I would think. At this time, I'll turn the program back over to Dina, and we'll all get ready for the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. For those of you who might not be aware, the reason the whole theme of Shakespeare is for this talent show is because that's our campus theme this year. I'm guided by a committee made up of faculty and staff who decide, okay, what are we going to do for the kickoff this year for the campus campaign? And they said, well, let's do another talent show. And I said, okay. And they said, and let's do the Shakespeare theme. And I said, okay. So this is why we have all of the wonderful people who volunteered to do Shakespeare stuff. Now I want to invite David Vollrath up here and get some encouraging words from him. He's a professor of management and chair of the campus campaign. And Dave has volunteered for the past 9 years to chair the IU South Bend campus campaign. The campaign's goal, as I'm sure you're aware, is to encourage faculty, staff, and emeriti to support financially the over 200 funds that we have here on campus. And with Dave's leadership, we have raised close to $600,000. So let's give Dave a... And I just want you to know that part of my evaluation is based on whether we meet our goal, okay? Dave.
We have, Dina and I have had lots of help over the years with Campus Campaign Committee. If anybody from this year's committee or a past committee is here, would you stand and be recognized? Because this is a group effort, yes. Thank you very much. So I went searching for a quote from Shakespeare about charity and found one that I think is very fitting for this Valentine's Day in the play Love's Labor Lost. And the quote is, "Who can sever love from charity?" And I think that's emblematic, really, of what we're all about with the campus campaign. Even, that tight bond between love and charity is at the root of the word philanthropy, the love of humanity. And the campus campaign, I suggest, is the love of IU South Bend. And as Dina said, your generosity over the past 8 years, totaling almost $600,000, is this amazing expression of love for our campus. And again, this year, I ask you to reflect on what you individually love the most about IU South Bend and make a gift of any amount to that account. Thank you.
Speaking of one of the tasty desserts, I don't know if you had a chance to get the little square ones. It looks like there's little pieces of cinnamon in, I'm not sure. But Roy Schreiber was going to address cooking during Shakespeare's time, but he had a family emergency. He did give us the recipe for one of the desserts that Ziggy prepared, and this is what he had to say about cooking during that era. And this is something to think about when we are throwing together a meal quickly. Like, what are some of the fast meals with just throw it in the water, add it, serve it? Right, there are many differences between a kitchen in Shakespeare's era and a modern kitchen. For cooks today, quantity and quality of ingredients, temperature and timing are almost always important. My husband's a fabulous chef, and I get out of his way, but timing is important. In Shakespeare's day, there was no standardized measures. They cooked over open fires, in large fireplaces, and all baking in cities were done in the bake shops because homes usually had no ovens. Why? Because there was a fire risk. What is more, they neither had thermometers nor timing devices that could accurately measure hours, let alone minutes. So we have no way of knowing if the modern day version of 16th century recipes are accurate. Just to add to our mystery, most servants who actually did the cooking in middle and upper class households could not read. Around the time of Shakespeare's birth, England became a Protestant country. When that happened, upper class women learned to read the Bible, and cookbooks began to appear that were directed at those women. Presumably, the ladies of the house read the cookbooks to their servants. So when you have a chance, try one of those little square things and see if it is as good as you think it would be in Shakespeare's time. Okay, I'd like to invite Joe Chaney up. He's going to be doing a presentation on Shakespeare's difficult words.
Thank you. I'm sort of going to be talking about the academic side of Shakespeare. I'm the one representative, I think, in that area today. And I teach Shakespeare, as you know, and that's a curse. Shakespeare is difficult. His language is difficult. Students complain. Here are some of the things that they have written in their course evaluations. No? It's not working? I tried reading Hamlet, but it hurt my head. This course almost killed me. Reading Shakespeare on my iPad, I kept falling asleep, which is dangerous when you're driving. I don't see how you can be a professor of Shakespeare and not be a lot crazier than you are. And you're about as crazy as they get. So, I've studied Shakespeare for 30 years. But I too have been puzzled by the works of this great man. What I teach my students is that Shakespeare writes metaphorically. So things don't always mean what they seem to mean. Also, it's important to understand the historical and dramatic context. The context helps you to figure out the meaning. To demonstrate, I'm going to quote some passages from Romeo and Juliet, and then read to you the helpful explanations of some of my students. Now, these are taken just straight from the Blue Books. The students look at a famous passage, one we discussed in class, and they explain the context and the meaning. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. The student comments, Romeo doesn't really believe that Juliet is the sun. It's a metaphor. What happens is Juliet rushes over to see Romeo and breaks the window. Her head just bashes right through it. Her head is soft, but it still somehow breaks the window, like the sun breaks through the window with its light. I imagine that Juliet cried because she's only like 10 years old. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. Romeo sees Juliet on her balcony, and he wishes he could be a glove, probably a fancy silk glove like a girl would wear back when they wore gloves for no reason, just as a fashion statement or something, like Michael Jackson. In this case, too, it would be just one glove, and I'm guessing a right-hand glove like Michael's, but without the sewn-in crystals. Now, when I teach this play, I often use the 1996 version by Lerman with DiCaprio as the star in the role of Romeo. And I just say that as a preface to the next comment, because sometimes the students will comment upon the performances we've seen in class. O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Like you said in class, wherefore means why. Juliet isn't searching for Romeo and calling out like, Romeo, where are you? She's asking why he has to be Romeo. Why can't he be someone else? But if he really looked like Leonardo DiCaprio, she would never ask this question. A plague of both your houses. They have made worm's meat of me. Mercutio is pissed because they killed him. In those days, what we call hamburgers were made from worm's meat instead of beef. They looked about the same, but maybe tasted different. He's saying, you guys made a hamburger out of me, and he's not very happy about it. Wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. It was the nightingale and not the lark that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear. This is their first argument. She says the bird they hear is the nightingale, and he says it was the lark, no nightingale. She's upset, but mostly she's angry because he's not staying to talk. He's leaving right after sex, which is typical. It's really thoughtful. Oh, happy dagger. Juliet wakes in the tomb alone with dead people, including Romeo, who died from drinking poison. The poison is all gone, but she finds a dagger, and now she can join Romeo. The dagger isn't literally happy, it's just a knife. But it looks happy to Juliet because she imagined knives enjoy killing people, or would if they had feelings. Daggers don't kill, people kill people. Daggers don't kill people, people kill people. But daggers seem pretty happy to help. So that's just an overview of my experience as a teacher of Shakespeare, and I have great students, as you can tell, and we have a lot of fun. Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. That was wonderful. And I left teaching? Oh. Our next act is the witch scene from Macbeth. And the Sisters of Charm are Catherine Page-Vanore, Christy Almager, and Cheri Gray. They're the witches. And I think they'd like to come in costume. I don't know.
Can we get a stagehand to help us? We're going to put this on the stage, I guess.
And then Linda Schultz-Heidrich and Lesley Walker are the chorus. And do you want the microphone?
I don't think the microphone's going to work. Do you guys need help with the steps? No, this is going to work. Okay. 2, 3, go, Catherine.
Thrice the brinded cat hath mewed.
Thrice and once the hedge pick whined.
Our beer cries, 'tis time, 'tis time.
Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Toad that under cold stone, days and nights has 31. Sweltered venom sleeping got, boil thou first in the charmed pot.
Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Fillet of fenny snake in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of Newton, toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog, adder's fork and blindworm sting, lizard's lake and owlet's wing, for a charm of powerful trouble, like a hell broth boil and bubble. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, witch's mummy, maw, and gulf. Of the raven, salt sea shark, root of hemlock digging in the dark. Slivered in the moon's eclipse, nose of Turk and Tartar's lips. Finger of birth strangled babe, ditch delivered by a drab, make the gruel thick in slab. Add thereto a tiger's chaudron,
For the ingredients of our cauldron. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood, then the charm is firm and good.
Oh, well done, I commend your pains, and everyone shall share in their gains. And now about the cauldron sing, live elves and fairies in a ring, enchanting all that you put in.
Disbursement voucher, mighty fine, but first, fill out a W-9.
Travel form, a hotel bill. These laboratory frogs are making me ill.
records from going out to eat, here an itemized receipt.
Food and drinks and taxes here, a separate one for all the bill.
A dossier for PTR. Pens from reviewers near and far.
Double, double, trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Website workflows, EDOC's done, but disapproved by Bloomington.
People who don't call you back, Advil for my aching back.
And for this I-9, I'll need to see 2 pieces of ID.
My desk may appear being chaos and disorder, but for every faculty member, I've submitted, a book order.
I may not know which EDOC I should choose, but if the wrong one I do choose, Bloomington will surely disapprove. And here at last, one piece remains, a gift
for the campus campaign. By the clicking of my thumb, something wicked this way comes. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
Is that the new official submission process?
Yes, it is.
We'll do it. It was awfully thin. You got it?
Ladies, that was wonderful. Thank you. Again, a round of applause. Very clever. Okay, I'd like to now introduce Dr. James Boyer, tenor, and Dr. Jennifer Muniz, who's playing the piano. This is music by Roger Quilter and words by William Shakespeare, and it is, "O Mistress Mine, blow, blow thy winter wind."
Must friendship is fading, must love
both. Oh, I wish I had a set of pipes. Next up is Vicki Bloom, our Dean of the Library, and her title of her performance is "The Game is Afoot."
Okay. It's time for Shakespeare trivia. All right. Is Joe Chaney still here? Oh, okay. He is. He gets a little extra. But we'll start out with easy ones. Longest Shakespeare play.
Hamlet.
All right. Shortest Shakespeare play.
Macbeth.
You'll get a candy for Hamlet. Shortest Shakespeare play.
What said Midsummer Night's Dream back then?
Nope.
As you like it?
Yep. All right. Okay. Science fiction fans? Do we have any science fiction fans here? Anybody? All right. Which two plays have been translated into Klingon?
Well, I know one. Hamlet.
Right.
Probably Macbeth is the other. No,
Anybody know? No? Anybody?
Romeo and Juliet.
Richard III?
No?
The Tempest.
Nope, not a, what do you call it? Not a tragedy or a comedy.
Not a tragedy or it's a
I mean, comedy.
It's not a comedy.
What you do about nothing. All right, you get a Band-Aid. All right.
Tell them about the Band-Aid.
Oh, the Band-Aids we're giving out have Shakespeare insults on them. Insults next for the next group, but. So that's one of our gifts today. Okay. For you baby boomers, even the castaway of Gilligan's Island performed Shakespeare. What play?
Macbeth. Midsummer Night's Dream.
Tempest.
No. No.
Romeo and Juliet.
Anybody else? These are hard, aren't they? All right, it was Hamlet. All right, West Side Story is based on Romeo and Juliet. Name another musical based on a Shakespeare play.
Kiss Me.
You got it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. This one's really hard. All right. First of all, we got this before, but who dies first, Romeo or Juliet?
Romeo.
Yeah.
We all get them.
Maureen got that. All right. Who said this? Shakespeare or Batman? Okay, Shakespeare or Batman?
The Joker.
Shush, I gotta give you the quote. I can live no longer by thinking.
Batman.
Shakespeare, who said it? Over here somewhere. Did you say it, Nancy, or somebody behind you?
I think it was over there.
Who said it? Who said it? Who said Shakespeare? Who said Shakespeare first? Anybody? All right. Sometimes it's only madness that makes us what we are. Shakespeare or Batman?
Batman.
Yeah, somebody got Batman back there. All right, Shakespeare or Batman? We die every day 1,000 times an hour.
Shakespeare.
Yeah? No. Batman! Sorry! I gave that away. All right. And vengeance is in my heart, death in my hand. Shakespeare. Erica got it. Shakespeare. All right. All right. The VeggieTales did a takeoff of Hamlet. What was it called?
Omelet.
Yes! Absolutely! She got it! Right, it was called Omelet. Are you looking on your... All right. Linda Fisher got it. All right. Let's see. Which of Shakespeare's plays mentions America?
Midsummer Night's Dream.
Where's my historian? Anybody? Comedy of Errors. How many plays did Shakespeare write?
42.
53. No. Anybody?
Joe, how many plays?
How many plays did Shakespeare write? He's got it. All right. What famous 1950 sci-fi movie is based on the play Tempest?
Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun.
You got it.
Competing library.
Back there.
Hey.
Let's see what else I have.
I don't know.
Who recorded the song Romeo and Juliet? It's a band. Rock and roll question.
Dire Straits.
Yes, he got it. He got it. Cameraman got it.
What was it?
What is it? Straight. All right, and I will finish up here. Name two actors that played Othello in the movies.
Kenneth Branagh.
Lawrence Fishburne, Mackay Pfeiffer.
And who was the second one?
Midsummer Night's Dream.
Mackay Pfeiffer.
Paul Robeson.
Would you say Kenneth Branagh?
That was on stage, not the movies. You got one, so he gets one. Another one that played Othello in the movies?
Laurence Olivier.
Yes. Yes, you got Olivier. All right, you got Fishburne. Third one, Orson Welles. Yeah. All right. Right. Oh, okay. Well, he got him. Anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicki, and every time someone uses one of those Band-Aids, they'll think about our campus campaign. I'd like to now introduce Dean Marvin Lynn, tenor, and Jennifer Muniz will be playing the piano. This is music by Frank Schubert, words by William Shakespeare, and it is Who is Sylvia from Two Gentlemen of Verona.
Such grace did lend her, that adored she might be, that adored she she excels each mortal thing upon the dull earth dwelling. To her gallants let us sing. To her gallants let us sing.
Bravo, thank you both. Wow. I wish I could sing.
Go for it.
They used to tell me to lip sync in high school. All right, let me now bring up Craig Finley and Kate Thompson, and I know when they're going to do their performance, which is Insults by Shakespeare, that they didn't steal them from any of the Band-Aids. And their performance name is Were I Like Thee, I'd Throw Away Myself.
One of these is actually, we've just learned, not real. I pulled it from a Shakespeare insult generator, which apparently doesn't use real Shakespearean insults, it just mocks them. So if anyone can pick out which one is fake, you get real nerd points.
Your abilities are too infant-like for doing much alone.
I do desire that we be better strangers.
There is no more mercy in him than there is milk in a male tiger.
They lie deadly that tell you you have a good face.
Sizzblood, you starveling, you elf skin, you dried neat's tongue, you bull's pizzle, you stockfish. Oh, for breath to utter what is like thee. You tailor's yard, you sheath, you bowcase, you vile standing tuck.
You wear out a good wholesome forenoon in hearing a cause between an orange wife and a faucet seller.
Away, you cut-purse rascal, you filthy bum, away! By this wine, I'll thrust my knife in your moldy chaps, and you play the saucy cuddle with me. Away, you bottle ale rascal, you basket-hilt stale juggler, you! Woo!
More of your conversation would infect my brain.
A knave, a rascal, an eater of broken meats. Base, proud, shallow, beggarly, three-suited, 100-pound, filthy, worsted, stocking knave. A lily-livered, action-taking knave. A whoreson, glass-gaping, super-serviceable, finical rogue. One trunk-inheriting slave. One that would be a bawd in way of good service, and art nothing but the composition of a knave, beggared, coward, pander, and the son and heir of a mongrel bitch. One whom I will beat into clamorous whining if thou deniest the least syllable of thy addition.
There's no more faith in you than a stewed prune.
Thou art a Castilian king urinal.
Be put in a cauldron of lead and use her as grease, amongst a whole million of cut purses, and there to boil like a gammon of bacon that will never be enough.
A most notable coward, an infinite and endless liar, an hourly promise breaker, the owner of no such good quality.
She is deformed, crooked, old and sear, ill-faced, worse-bodied, shapeless everywhere, vicious, ungentle, foolish, blunt, stigmatical in making, and worse in mind.
Thou art like a toad, ugly and venomous, and I must tell you friendly in your ear, sell when you can, for you are not for all markets.
Oh, you beast! I'll so maul you and your toasting iron, you shall think the devil is come from hell.
Methinkest thou art a general offense, and every man should beat thee.
You peasant swain, you horse and malt horse drudge!
I'll beat thee, but I should infect my hands.
Why, thou debauched fish thou! Wilt thou tell a monstrous lie, being but half a fish and half a monster?
thou cream-faced loon, where gotst thou that goose look?
Out of my sight! Thou dost infect my eyes.
Tempt not too much the hatred of my spirit, for I am sick when I do look upon thee.
You juggler! You cake-a-blossom!
4 of his 5 wits went halting off, and now the whole man is governed with 1, so that if he have wit enough to keep himself warm, let him bear it for a difference between himself and his horse, for it is all the wealth he has left, to be known a reasonable creature.
Thou sodden-witted lord, thou hast no more brains in thy head than I'm in mine elbows.
Foul-spoken coward, thou thunderst with thy tongue, and with thy weapon nothing dares perform.
Thou clouted, tickle-brained dewberry.
Peace, ye fat guts.
I shall cut out your tongue. 'Tis no matter. I shall speak as much wit as thou afterwards. Would anyone like to guess what the not real insult was? Apparently, it was clotted, tickle-brained dewberry isn't really an insult.
Thank you both. That was wonderful. You know, Joe, if you taught Shakespeare like that, you might get more students liking it. Isn't it amazing how Shakespeare can kind of flow off your tongue to insult someone, and they may not even know it. I do want to point out that both Kate and Jennifer dressed appropriately in the Shakespearean time. Did you notice their high-collared white kind of thing, blouse? So just wanted to point that out. Again, thank you. All right, so what if Will and Romeo and Juliet were opposite personality types? Gwynn Mettetal is going to talk about Myers-Briggs and personality types.
Okay, well, Sara Sage is very sick today. That's why she's not here. But she's actually certified to do the Myers-Briggs, and I've used it in my classes. And the thing is that sometimes we geeky type people, what you like to do is imagine, you know, boy, I wonder what their psychotic, diagnosis would be, whatever. And so you're thinking, what would their personality types be? And so we started with it, and then we went a little crazy. So your personality is just the way that you react, and the big 5 is the one way of looking at it. But we're going from Jung to the Myers-Briggs, and it's going even devolving to these 4 temperament types. And so you may have heard of these, may not. I'll have just a little tutorial, but not much. So the first one is idealists who believe everything is about your personal meaning of the world. The rationals are very scientific. Everything needs to be logical. The guardians always want to do your duty, do the right thing, and the artisans are for fun and freedom. Yeah, let's have a good time. More cynically, idealists, overly sensitive crybabies, rationals, twitchy intellectuals who don't get invited to any parties. Guardians are the responsible adults who actually do something, and artisans are the ones who get the girls and then disappear before you have to wash the dishes. I stole this from a website that I highly recommend. It's got lots of cool stuff, and that's where a lot of my photos are. So let's start. The idealists, and if you're really interested in reading all of these, I did, because I'm a teacher, bring handouts for you with just these. This is from Sara. But so the idealists are the ones it's all about meaning, and we're kind and loving-hearted and spiritual and intense. Here are some famous idealists, so you can kind of get the feel of it. And it turns out that when people play this what's your type game, William Shakespeare was clearly an idealist. Just to that own self be true, that whole personal meaning. Many authors tend to be idealists. And people also like to play what would that character be, and when they do, Romeo and Juliet are always typed as being idealists because they trusted their intuition, they were very romantic, they were a little intense. Okay? So there's very little debate. I mean, some of the little flavors in, but everybody, all through the web, Google Romeo, Juliet, Myers-Briggs type, and you will get that they were idealists. So this was kind of interesting, but then Sara and I started thinking about, what if they'd been in different personality types? You know, here we've got all these idealists writing about idealists, but it could have gone differently, right? It could have been different. So, for starters, what if Romeo, Juliet, Shakespeare weren't rationals? Now, the rationals are all about the scientific, pragmatic. They tend to have, you know, sometimes a sharp tongue. They're really good at debate, reasoning. Here are some rationals. Again, this is what people think. They've not actually taken any sort of personality test. If Shakespeare, let's start with this. If Shakespeare was a rational, he would have written an academic book about the history of romance. Juliet would have made the very wise decision to marry the rich guy her father had picked out, not this teenager who apparently gets into fights. And instead of swordplay, Romeo would have wounded Tybalt with his razor-like wit. What if they were guardians? The guardians are the ones who want to do your job, do the right thing all the time. They follow the rules. They wrote the rules. Here are some famous guardians. Okay, well, if Shakespeare were a guardian, he would have written a how-to book, Star-Crossed Relationships for Dummies. Juliet would have been a good girl and done what her father told her. She would have had a list for Romeo with explicit directions and a backup plan in case he lost the list. And Romeo would have checked better to see if Juliet was really dead, and then he would have performed CPR. Because really they botched it all there. And then finally, what if they were artisans? Artisans are the people who are all about fun and freedom, and they're just creative and having a good time. Here are some artisans. Interestingly, this website, they had, you know, all the famous people. They had, the only female they had for artisans was Jackie Onassis, which they didn't make a very good case. So I don't know if it's just women can't do things to make them famous when they're being kind of wild and crazy. But when you're looking at things, you know, Hemingway, Patton, Bill Clinton, you kind of get the picture. So if Shakespeare had been an artisan, he would have had more action scenes and bigger explosions. More like Die Hard. Romeo would have been more like Bruce Willis, out for revenge. And Romeo and Juliet would have just skipped town, forget the marriage, headed for Paris for a while. If you find this sort of stuff interesting, this website is quite the hoot. And if you are really interested in Myers-Briggs, later I've got just one-page handouts of all those types. You can figure out what you two are.
Oh boy. Thank you, Gwynn. All right, and now I'd like to present Connie Peterson-Miller, and she will be singing, and Ilya Ulinsky will be playing the piano, and they're going to be doing two songs, Prince Hal's Dirge, music by Loudon Wainwright III, words by William Shakespeare, and the second song will be Motherless Child, which is a traditional spiritual. Connie, let's hear you sing.
I talked this over with my roguish companions, and they decided I should start with Motherless Child, which is a spiritual, and you wonder how that connects to Shakespeare. Well, when I heard that the theme was going to be Shakespeare, I really hung my head. I couldn't imagine. So I decided to look at adaptations, and I discovered that the Repertory Theater of St. Louis had situated the Comedy of Errors in New Orleans, probably just after Katrina, and that it featured spirituals and, of course, the music of New Orleans. Do you know the Comedy of Errors? And I've also seen it as the Bombardier of Errors, which was the hip-hop version. Well, essentially, this is the Cliff Notes version. A man is being led away. He has broken the law. He was not to have traveled between these two cities who are at war, Ephesus and Syracuse. And as he's being led to the scaffold, he explains that, I only came here because 25 years ago, I and my family were tossed ashore and separated, and I believe that my twin sons are here in the city. And as a matter of fact, they would be soon. There were twin sons separated 25 years ago from their parents. Each one had a slave, Romeo. And so this scene has them walking along the street, but separated and feeling all alone in the world. And then come the strains of Motherless Child. I'll try this. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. And I'm a long, long way from home. I'm a long, long way from home. Sometimes I feel like I'm all the way down. Sometimes I feel like I'm all the way down. Sometimes I feel like I'm all the way down, and I'm a long, long way from home. I'm a long, long way from home. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. And I'm a long, long way from my home. I'm a long, long way from my home. And now I'd like to call on my roguish companions, Craig Schroeder and Ilya Ulyanitsky, who's come all the way from Israel to play. As they're setting up, this is a song that Loudon Wainwright III composed. He actually wrote the words, but they're adapted from Shakespeare's Henry IV. The original sentiments were expressed thusly, and as I said, this is from Henry IV. Prince Hal, he's consorting with riffraff. He drinks a lot. And that's because he wants to show people that eventually he will have the inner strength and will to be converted, to come aright and serve as king. So he's together with Falstaff and says, I know you all, and will a while uphold the unyoked humor of your idleness, yet herein I will imitate the sun, who doth permit the base contagious clouds to smother up his beauty from the world, that when he please again to be himself, being wanted, he may be more wondered at by breaking through the foul and ugly mists of vapors that did seem to strangle him. So when this loose behavior I throw off and pay the debt I never promised, by how much better that my word I am, by so much I shall falsify men's hopes, and like bright metal on a sullen ground, my reformation glittering o'er my fault shall show more goodly and attract more eyes than that which hath no foil to set it off. I'll so offend to make offense a skill, redeeming time when men think least I will. So this is Loudon Wainwright III's take on the situation. Prince Hal's probably sitting in a bar at this point. He's in his cups. He's on and on about this. He's on and on about that. And in the Shakespearean tradition where men played women, I will play Prince Hal. Okay, let's get dirty. Give me a cape on and some roguish companions, a wench and a bottle of sack. Take me to the alehouse, take me to the whorehouse. If I vomit, keep me off of my back. My father thinks I am a good for nothing, and that I won't amount to much. But he is not aware of my secret weapon. I can count on myself in a clutch. Show me a breach, and I'll once more unto it. I'll be ready for action any day. I'll straighten up and I'll fly most righteous. In a fracas, I'll be riding the fray. I can drink all of you under 25 tables. I can fight and be a ladies' man. But all of this will change when I'm good and ready to become the king of this land. Ah, yeah, I will be the king of this land. Roguish companions, a wench and a bottle of sack. Take me to the alehouse, take me to the whorehouse, and if I vomit, keep me off of my back. We've all been singing the blues, and that's the gospel truth. But you know what you can do, right? You'll tell us how.
Wow, thank you. We just need the lights lowered and a glass of wine or a gin and tonic, and would have felt right at home. Let's thank all of the entertainers one more time. Who knew Shakespeare could be that entertaining? Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Bruce. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. And such a wide variety. And you know, you put out the call, and who knew what was going to come in to offer to entertain us? And they did absolutely a fabulous job. But I also want to thank our campus campaign donors, because things are tight, as we all know, as you go through the budget hearings. And your gifts really make a difference in the lives of our students and in the functioning of your departments. So I want to thank you. And as Dave has coined, remember any amount to any account. And Sara Lowe has in back by the food, because you'll have to pass that table to get more food, the new campus campaign brochures, if you're anxious to make a commitment right now. And just remember that to do payroll deduction, it's pretty painless, because you sign up and then you don't know you have the money and it just gets pulled out of your paycheck. So I encourage you to do payroll deduction. And all of you should, if you didn't receive today, you'll receive on Monday your own personal brochure. And if you use one back there, please put your name and address on it, because your personal ones are addressed, those are not. I want to thank Dave Vollrath and the committee of faculty and staff who came up with this crazy idea, our performers, and Sara Lowe, who's my right-hand woman. She's so supportive and gets the job done, and she does the arranging. The marketing department, for their design and flexibility, they really bend over backward at our last-minute changes. And the schools and departments who donated the money so that we could have the food, don't forget to try the dessert that Roy suggested. And dining services in Maureen Muldoon. Let's give everyone a final round of applause.